Warte. Get some tip down. This cable.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, hope everyone is doing well. Okay. So we're sorry that yesterday we couldn't meet you guys. We had an urgent thing that we had to sort out with the class, so we couldn't make it. But we are going to start today, and then we will continue. For the Linux staff, it's supposed to be one of their instructors. Eben and I are supposed to take the class, but he will not be able to come in. So I'm going to stand in today, and then subsequently when he comes around, he will just take over. So I'm going to share my screen. I don't want us to waste much time here. Okay. Okay, so today's class is system administration, but I think yesterday someone asked me about the curriculum. I just want you to show a glimpse of it, and I will try to send it to you after class also. So, Zoom. Okay. All right, so this is how the curriculum looks like for the next couple of weeks that you are going to be on here. So we have everything done. We've already done the introduction, which was on Friday, and day 2, we're supposed to talk about VMs and then Linux. And then we're supposed to also talk about the Linux administration. Then we go to day 9 and 10, we have the server configuration and then installation of the Linux software. And then we have day 12, as in introduction to DBA. Day 13 and 14, we will try to do the Oracle 12c database installation. And then we'll do the 19c installation, software installation. We'll also do the Oracle 12 database silent installation. We have the day 15 to 17 of the understanding of Oracle database architecture. We'll continue with SQL administration. So I'll forward this to you for you to have a guide whenever you want to move ahead and then learn before class. So this is basically our curriculum for the next couple of weeks that we are going to take this particular course. So without wasting much time, I want us to start with the Linux administration, that's the system administration. And then we are going to, so today we are going to do, or for this particular week, we are going to do the history of Linux. We'll do a very short history of it. We will not go much into details because we do not want to spend so much time in there. We will also do the distribution of Linux. We will also talk about that. Then we'll come to the Linux fundamentals. So we'll talk about the basic Linux command. We'll give you some commands for you to be able to move around on your Linux command. We will also talk about file management. We will also talk about user management. We will talk about network configuration, process management, and then we will move to scripting. That is for you to be able to script or write down certain commands for you to fetch information from your Linux or from your databases and other stuff. And also the cron tab utility. We also teach you about how to schedule jobs in which you assign a time, a particular time, date and month to that particular script or job to be done for you without you going in there to check. So we will do that too within this particular topic. So in case, as we are moving ahead, you have any questions that you want or you need clarification of anything, just let me know, and then we are going to move. We are going to answer for you. So history of Linux. Now, the Linux operating system is a type of operating system like the Unix. So we have mainly two types. We have other types of operating system, but the ones that it is heard of or we mainly use in this world is the Linux and then the Unix. Now, when we say the Unix, it is an operating system, but it is proprietary. It is basically owned by most companies, and they have the right to make changes to it. So the Unix is for bigger companies that have their softwares or system operating designed for a particular company, and they only have the right to go in there and make changes. But when it comes to the Linux operating system, it is an open source. That is, it is used by or it can be used by everybody, and then changes can be made to fit whatever descriptions that you to fix anything that you have going on with that particular software. So this is a PowerPoint that we would give to you, or you can take screenshots of it, because as we are done, we'll give you the recordings, the video recordings, and then if you want the PowerPoint, we will try as much as possible to also give that to you. But we prefer you take notes, because some of the things that we would say would not be in the PowerPoint. So when it comes to this, right. All right. So as I was saying with the Linux, it's an open type. So basically between the Unix and then the Linux, the Unix is for bigger companies or designed for a particular company in which that particular company has the right to make changes to it. But with the Linux operating system, it is an open source that can be used by anyone, and that person can make changes to it to suit what he or she is doing at that particular moment. And when we say Linux operating system, the basic thing we are trying to tell you is it is an operating system that acts as an interface between the software and then the different parts of the computer or the computer hardware that you are using. So basically, I think Friday, we went through a couple of things, and then we tried, when we were trying to download certain things, that, okay, we have certain softwares like the Oracle software that we are going to be installing, and then trying to work around all those things. So this Linux operating system is the betweener. That is what I can use. A simpler term is the betweener between the software and then the other computer hardware, or the other components of the computer hardware. So it interferes, or it helps the interaction between those two. Now, Linux is a powerful and flexible for everybody to be able to use. And it was created by a person named Linus Torvalds in 1991. So we go ahead, and then we would also talk about, all right, so with the Linux aspect of things, all that we are trying to say, I just don't want to bore you much with the history of it. When the presentation is given to you, you can just go through it. But the main idea that you need to capture from this particular history is that we have two main types of operating system that normally we use. And we have one which is the Unix, which is so proprietary. It is for companies, and then the companies have the right to make changes. And then we have the Linux operating system, which is an open source, and everybody can be able to use it. So that is the two. Okay, so how does it work? Now we have components that comes about to give you the full Linux architecture. And what we gathered from the beginning of it was that the Linux operating software helps you to communicate between a software and then the other part of a computer. But in there, we have components, or we have levels in which, or a process that's passed through for both information to be carried back and forth between both of them. And that is what we want to talk about. So sometimes we will say layers of them. So in as much as we are talking about Linux, we have the main concept as in interacts between a software and then a hardware. Now, within that interactions, there are also layers in between of them. Now, we have the first thing as shell or a kernel. Now, a kernel is the core of the Linux-based operating system. Now, when we say the core, when information is being passed from the hardware to the software, or sorry, when the information is being passed from the software to the hardware. Now, the kernel helps you to move that information. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you
Hello.
now.
Oh, sorry. I think I was talking. All right, sorry. All right. So as I was explaining with the kernel operating, it is the basic, or when we say the base of the operating system, before any interaction is being done, the kernel is an important aspect of the Linux architecture. And as we go on, you will see that the sequence from the software to the hardware, you would understand the aspect of which the kernel goes to, and then it moves to the shell. I just don't want to jump off and then confuse you at the later end. So we are doing just the basic explanation. When we get to the bottom of our, we are going to interrelate the basis of everything. You get to understand it. So we go to the shell. Now, the shell is basically the interface that you give the command, right? So the shell gives the command to the kernel for it to interpret with the hardware. So what the shell does is you give out a command, right? And then the command is sent to the kernel. Now the shell looks like the interface that the Friday I showed you that I was using to give out commands and all those stuff. So you give out your commands on there, and then the shell carries that command and give it to the kernel. And then the kernel breaks down that particular information that you sent so that the hardware could understand and then give you the information. So I'm taking it back again. Now, with the three components of understanding the explanation of the interaction between the software and then the hardware component or the computer component, we are saying that we have a layer in between that transfer the information to and fro between the software and then the hardware. Now, we talked about the kernel, and then we brought another one called the shell. Now, what the shell does is when you give a command, the shell carries the command to the kernel, and then the kernel breaks down that particular command for the hardware to understand. And then it gives that command to the hardware, and then the hardware will also push out the information that you need for you. So basically, that is what it talks about. Now we have a system library. So we have multiple folders that make up the hardware, and we have something we call the system libraries. As we moved on, we are going to break down all these folders for you to also understand. It is another topic in there. But in here, the shared folder is mainly for you to be able to get information or pray. It contains pre-written codes that the application can use to perform certain tasks. So the shared library has certain codes in there that has already been written down, and then the system already understands. And it helps you to perform the functions that you need to do on your Linux. We also have the hard drive layer. Now, the hard drive layer also has components, because when you talk about the hard drive, we talk about the RAM, that is the random access memory. We talk about the hard disk drive. We talk about the CPU, that's the central processing unit. And we talk about the other input devices that comes when we talk about the hardware. Now, with the hardware layer, it also have components. And these components will also have its own capacity or whatever that they carry. So when we talk about random access memory, we have specific files or directories that are stored on your random access memory. When we talk about your hard drive, we have files or directories that are stored on your hard drive. When we talk about the central processing unit, that means we are talking about the whole processing system of that particular computer. We also have other input devices that are attached to this particular software. And then remember that when we were talking about the Linux administration, we also said that with the Linux administration, or with the virtual box that you have, it is another form of a computer. So if on that virtual box is where you are going to have your Linux and everything on there, that means it is working directly as your physical computer. Because last Friday, we talked about virtual boxes, and then we did a little bit of introduction about your physical computers and then the other software computers that we are using now. So this one is trying to depict how the physical components look like. So on the physical components, we have the RAM, we have the hard drive, we have the CPU, and then we have the other input devices. Basically, when we come to your VMs, we also have these same layers because they are acting the same way as your physical components. All right, so we also have other system utilities that are essential tools or programs provided by Linux to help you manage and then configure various aspects of the systems. So with these basic ones that we have, that you've got to know, we also have other aspects that also is essential, or that also helps you to get to be able to maneuver your way when it comes to Linux. When it comes to the Linux architecture, we have other utility tools that will help you. So when we talk about other utility tools, we have so many things that comes on there. So with the hard drive, we only talked about just a couple of them. But when we break down, we have other files and folders in between those hard drives that makes the whole software work as it's supposed to be. Now, under those, when we move to the next topic, we would be able to break down those things for you. But basically, on the Linux architecture, what we want you to have in mind is that, one, as we've already established, the software and then the computer hardware components. Now, in between them, we have people carrying in information in and out. And who are those people? We have the shell that carries out the command, or that gives out the command. And then the kernel interprets the command and gives to the hardware. So basically, when we talk about the Linux architecture, we have all those things in place. Now, inside the hardware, we've got to know that we have the random access memory in there. That's the physical component. We have the hard drive in there. We have the central processing unit. And then we also have other inputs and output devices on there. So why we use Linux? Now, from what we've gathered, we already know that Linux is an open source. And when we say something is open, that means it is available to everybody. So you can easily get the Linux software. You can be able to change or modify it and then adapt to the situation or whatever that you need be. And then it allows the contribution to the development and maintenance of the operating system. So comparing the two that we were talking about with the Unix, that it is owned by companies. When you have issues or problems with it, you would have to consult those companies for them to help you rectify those problems. But when it comes to the Linux administration, the Linux software, you are able or you can easily go in there to modify and then use it, because as soon as you are given the credentials and then you know your way around the Linux command, you can be able to do certain modifications and then distributions to help you maintain that particular operating system. Now, Linux is highly customizable, that when you have the Linux software, you can customize it in a way to suit the software packages that you'll be using. So for instance, we here use the Linux and then we use the Oracle software. So we are able to customize it for it to suit whatever that we have planned for the client or for the users of that particular project. Now we talk about stability and then security. Now, because you are able to maneuver, or you are easily able to get access into Linux, or you are easily able to use Linux, it has this stability when it comes to security, because you are able to modify the security system for it to suit you, that it wouldn't be easy for anybody who doesn't actually know the system that you are using to go in there and then crash it. Unlike the Unix that, for instance, we have for particular companies, people or certain people can be able to understand how the companies or whatever their system looks like, and be able to maybe create some viruses or crash it or do something to it without they actually getting access to. But with Linux, because you are able to modify it to suit you, there are certain changes that can be easily done without going in to ask for security changes or anything. But for you as the person that owns that particular platform, or you understand your way to move around it, you'll be able to create certain barriers that will create less prone to crashes and then viruses. And then also, because with the Linux, it also provides a password protection. So unlike the Unix, that because it is used for bigger companies, mostly they have to give out the credentials to large number of people. But with the Linux, it comes with its limited membership. And so with that, each client or each user on that particular Linux platform would have to be given a password protection so that you can be able to encrypt your data. So that if maybe we are using the same platform for us to maneuver our way around it, I have my password. I go in there, I work on my workspace. Another person also has his or a password. He goes in there and then works on that particular space. There will be difficulty for me to move to your workspace without the password. So in as much as we are all using one particular platform, there is some kind of security and stability in this environment. Now, it is cost effective. It is cost effective because Linux is free to download and use. And it makes it easier for individuals and businesses to be able to work with it, because if you are comparing the Unix, as we've talked about, the Unix would come with a cost, and because it is a self-proprietary software, it means it is built with every specifications from you personally. So everything that you are going to do on there or whatever you need there is cost incursive to you, the person. But with Linux, it is free for you to download. It is free. It is easy for you to adapt and then modify, make changes for you to use. So individuals or businesses would be able to hop on to this Linux software without having to pay so much for it. Now, Linux is also a multi-programming, as in you can have multiple applications run on at the same time. So as we are moving on, you get to understand that with whatever that you are doing, you are not subjected to just one particular application at a time, but you'll be able to open multiple applications, or you'll be able to go onto multiple databases just for you to be able to run those things at the same time. Or you do not have to run one particular application, end it, and then open another one, as much as you would need, depending on the memory space that you have on that particular machine. You'll be able to use those multiple applications at the same time. Now, we've talked so much, and then I think by now we would know some of the advantages and then the disadvantages of Linux. But so far, do you have any questions for me? Any questions, please? Okay, so I move. Now, some of the advantages of Linux. So with Linux, because it is an open source, it has been designed in a way that it is compatible to a large number of file formats. So depending on the file format that you are given, or you as the user is using, you'll be able to easily adapt to it, because most of the things on Linux are you can easily have access to, or you can easily make changes to. Now, it is free. You just go online, download it, or whatever the Linux software that you want to use. You just go there and then you download it, or you install it. Let's make it that you install it, and then any of the users can be able to use it. You just don't have to go and make any payments for that particular software. Now, as day goes in, there are so many changes that is being done as the user. So day by day, you go in there, you make changes, you try to modify certain things, and in and out. So with every single day that you go on your Linux, there are so many things that you do on there that you are easily able to do without facing any restrictions. So when it comes to restrictions, Linux is not restricted that much. Now, Linux system rarely crashes. So when we talk about crashing, it is a very stable platform that you are able to use, because basically they have created the software in a stage that you'll be able to modify and make changes as soon as you see a certain problem. So for instance, let's say that, okay, on your Linux interface, you have a memory of maybe 30 gig, and you have used 28 or 29 gigs of it. Now, as you go in and day out to make changes and then find out what the whole Linux thing is looking like, you are able to also check that, okay, at this particular moment, I need to give my Linux space more data so that it doesn't crash. Or, okay, there is this particular information that came in there that if I do not move or delete, it is going to crash my software. So with the Linux software, it is easily for you to be able to find solutions when it comes to your system, because in as much as you go in day in, day out, you are able to find out the problem, and you are able to modify these problems for you to get solutions, and then be able to have a very stable environment for you, the user itself, and then the businesses that you are using them for. So another example would be, okay, you have built up a whole system for a client that each day they have about 2,000 people signing in to their databases or to their platform. Now, what you do is you have created a memory space for people to be able to freely log in and then log out of all those systems. Now, what you went in the other day, you saw that, okay, it's supposed to be 2,000 people each day. But for the past 2 or 24 hours, you've had an increase of like 4,000 people. Now you are receiving 6,000 people signing in onto that particular platform. So the memory space that you actually, in the beginning, you used for them, which is for the 2,000 people, needs to be increased. And with that, you are able to increase that so that there is no pressure or delays when it comes to people logging in and then trying to come onto that particular platform. So with this particular explanation, that means that it will be very difficult for you to have an error or the client calling you that, okay, people are trying to log in and then they have issues coming onto the platform. It looks like the system is slow. It looks like the system is having difficulty to capture all those people, just because that you were able to identify this particular situation early and then you find a solution for it. Now, the Linux does not collect much user data. And then it ensures privacy of the user. So basically what the Linux does is you just need a password, your login as or your username to log in, and then you are able to enter in there. You do not need so many information for you to be able to log onto. Now we have other clients that are using the Linux, but because of how high they want their security levels to be, they create other measures or other security barriers for you to pass through before you get on the system. So in as much as we are using the Linux interface, it's not supposed to have so much data of, like, for you to give in so much of your data before you are able to access it. But in as much as every user have its own privacy issue, we have other users that go the extra mile. So for instance, we'll be giving you your login details. Now, with your login details that we'll be giving you, we'll be giving you your login, that is your username, and then a password. For you to be able to get onto that particular platform, the first thing that you need to do is you put in your username and then you put in the password that we have given you. Now, for you to have an extra or the privacy that we are talking about, after the password that we have given you has been entered, you need to enter your private password that you as a user would be using on that particular platform. So this, we are trying to ensure that everybody that is going to be on that Linux platform has his or her privacy. So even I, as one of the instructors, that I have the initial password. After you enter your private password, I would not be able to go in to your data because I do not have the credentials, except I am root. And we will be talking about the root user as we go forward. So if I am root, I have the total control to move anywhere. But if I am a user as you are, I do not have the privileges of entering into your site. Now, you do not need any reboots to increase system speed. Now, with the Linux, we are talking about this being the same as your physical computer. So sometimes with your physical computer, you have this speed problem that maybe you think, okay, let me just restart my whole computer and everything. With Linux, because it is an open source and then it is directly attached to your internet, you do not need reboots. Once or maybe not most occasions, but sometimes, not most occasions, there might be incidents that maybe you might have caused, or a situation might have caused that you need to reboot, but it is not on a regular. You are not supposed to regularly reboot your system. Now, no antivirus is needed because with the Linux aspect, you are attached directly to the internet, and then you do not need to install any form of antivirus on your software because the Linux itself has its security patches, which is already protecting the system. So you do not need to download any antivirus software for you to be using with your Linux. Now, some of the disadvantages of it. So we've talked much about the advantages of Linux and how Linux helps the user to be able to interact with the software and then the hardware. Now, we also have certain disadvantages that comes with the use of Linux. And sorry, that comes with the first one. So Linux does not provide some hardware drivers, which is drawback of Linux. So we have so many hardware components when we talk about the physical computer that is not on the Linux. And because of that, even though it is functioning as a physical computer, it is limited in a certain aspect of it. So we try as much as possible that, okay, with all the components that it has, we also have the other aspects of Linux that do not also have certain components of it. So we look at the broader parts, and then we were talking about the hardware drives that we have. We already talk about the RAM, we already talk about the hard drive, the CPU, and other stuff. Now, when we come to the physical components, we have so many other components that we are able to use with our hardware components. But with the Linux, it does not have those components. And that doesn't mean that it cannot function as the physical computer. It can be able to do the work that the physical computer does. Okay, so what are some of the hardware drives that are not able to? So for instance, we are powered by the internet. So as soon as you turn on your computer, you have internet, you get your Linux system up. But with the hardware, you would have to get to an open source for you to turn on your, have your Windows installed, for you to be able to use other ones on there. We also have the command line interface of Linux, which is sometimes difficult for beginners to use. Now, when we talk about the command line, it is the command line is an interface or the space where you type your commands. So from the beginning, I would want to go back a little. So we were talking about the shell and then the kernel. We said that the shell sends the commands to the kernel. So where does the shell get the command from? The shell gets the command from the command line interface. And those commands are carried by the shell, given to the kernel, and then the kernel gives it to the hard drive. And so, because it is a language itself, as a beginner, if you do not understand how to go around on your command line, it will be difficult for you to be able to get certain things done on your Linux command. Now we talk about some graphical tools. We have so many tools on the physical computers that are not on the Linux operating system. Now, compared to certain tools, for instance, we are able to create these databases and other stuff. But when we come to pictures, we are not able to necessarily insert pictures into your Linux operating system because we are dealing with commands, or we are dealing with language. So we have certain tools on our physical components that are not on the Linux. And as we go on, you begin to understand that, okay, we have the physical computer on there that is working. And we also have the Linux operating system that is acting as a physical computer, but there are certain components that are not on the Linux operating system. So we have some of them that are not there. Now, when we talk about Linux do not have standard versions. So when we talk about standard versions, as you can see, we have some softwares that they upgrade themselves yearly, or they upgrade themselves quarterly, or they have upgraded version as time goes on. But Linux has just as I think one version or a couple of versions, and it makes users find it difficult to actually get the best versions of them because they all look the same. They all work the same. So when we come to the standard versions of Linux, it is the same. That wherever that you go or whatever that you download, it is the same version that you are downloading. And that brings about a disadvantage because if at a moment I feel like, okay, a new version comes and it has so many other components that the older version do not have, I would want to jump onto it. But because it is a standard version, you find it difficult to be able to adapt when it comes to the versions. So it is just one, and then every user has to be able to use it. Now, if in case you want to, I think I sent you a video and then you watch. So in case we are having the discussions and then the video that you watch, you have any questions, you can also bring it here and then we'll do a discussion of it. Now we talk about the distributions of Linux. When you are reading or doing research, you might find out that they are sometimes termed as the flavors of Linux. So there are other software that we use, or they are branded Linux softwares that we use. So we have different brands of these Linux software, like the Red Hat, Ubuntu. I think some of the videos that you'll be watching on YouTube, you will be seeing the Red Hat and then the Ubuntu. We also have the CentOS. We also have the Fedora. We have a couple of them on there that people use. But with the ones that we are used to, or we are used to seeing out there, is the Ubuntu, the Red Hat, and maybe the Fedora. So these all are flavors or the distributions of Linux. Okay, so this is just a breakdown of whatever that we've been able to talk about since we started. So when we talk about Linux, we already know that it is an open source. Linux is free. It is free of cost, and then it is based on a monolithic kernel. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that well. We also have the bash shell that helps you send in the information from the carries the information from the command line to the kernel. We also have a build of, because it was built on from the Unix. It was because the Unix was there and then we built on it to have the Linux. And then we have an example of the Linux as the Debian, the Ubuntu, the Fedora, the Red Hat, and then Android. Now we talked a little bit about the Unix, and then we said it was a proprietor. It is not an open source. So it is basically managed by a company. And then the kernel type also varies based on the needs that the company would need. And we have examples as the IBM exists, the Solaris, and then the Mac OS X, and so forth. Okay, so All right, we have 4 minutes before our 10 minutes break. All right. So we have the Linux and then the Windows. Now, with the Linux and then the Windows, we are talking about the same thing. So with Linux, we said it is open source. We have already stabilized that it is free of course. It is file case sensitive. We already have most of the things up there. But one thing that we didn't speak about was the Windows version, even though we've talked a little bit about it. We also have to know that the Windows version of it is a paid operating system. So in as much as the Linux is free, the Windows is paid. Now it is file name sensitive or in case sensitive. That is, it is attached to a specific case that in which when you want to call out, you need that details to be able to call out that particular information. Unlike the Linux, that's even with an idea, you'll be able to get the information out there. So as we are moving on, you'll be able to get commands that would be able to fetch you information with the little bit that you've gathered, and then you get the full idea of whatever that you are looking at. Now, it is talking about the micro kernel or the kernel. Now, when we talk about the micro kernel, it is talking about the large aspect of the kernel. And then with the kernel as being the one that interprets the language or the information to the hard drive, it means that we have that large space for it to be able to get that information to the kernel. Unlike the Linux, that it is subjected to a particular space for you to get the information to the hard drive. So for instance, we are saying that, okay, with the Linux, it has to go to, the command has to be typed on a command line, and then it is carried by the shell. Now the shell carries the information straight to the kernel. So without the shell, the information cannot get to the kernel. But with the macro kernel, it has other components in which the information can pass through and then get to the kernel for that's to be break down and then sent to the hardware. Now, for the safety, we already know that we have so many safety precautions that you can use in the Linux administration, because you as the user is able to update and then try as much as possible to create this the user yourself, and then the user also has its own security measures that can be put in place to protect or encrypt the data. But with the Windows, it is less safe. When we say less safe, is that it is prone for to these databases, because it is easily, some people can easily be able to get that particular information on there. So I would want to end here. The time is up. We'll go for a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and continue from this slide. Okay, so let's just continue from where we ended and then we move. So with the last bit of it, I think we were at less frequent update and then frequent update. So with the Linux, you have less frequent updates. That means that you do not update it frequently. But with the Windows, you would have to update it just because the Linux has limited versions when it comes to the software. But with the Windows, you have to frequently update it as the Windows version goes up. Now, it takes less time for you to set up a Linux. But with the Windows, you need more time and then a lot of time for you to set up those windows. So, sorry. Hello, is somebody saying anything? Okay, so with the Linux, you just have to download the software and then you install it. But with the Windows, you need time for you to set up all the components that you need on there. And then the Linux was we already know that the Linux was developed by someone called the Linux Torvalds. And then we have the Windows that is developed by Microsoft. So with that being said, is there any questions for me concerning the introductory? You can also put it in the chat if you want to. Okay, so let's move to the Linux fundamentals. Now, with the Linux fundamentals, we are just going to learn about how the interface or the command line works, how you are going to maneuver your way around how you're going to be able to maneuver your way around that particular interface. How are you going to get information from that Linux command line? And that are some of the commands. We are going to give you some commands that you are going to use daily when you move on to the Linux system. So one thing that we have to keep in mind is these commands are going to be a daily routine for us. So with the commands being daily routine, that means we have to have daily practice with them so that we do not forget those commands, because there are a lot. And we have some that mostly you use and others that, depending on what you are using, you are going to need to bring them. But you would have to know all of them. So please put down these commands and try as much as possible that when we hand over your credentials to you to log on to your servers, you would practice more of those commands. So we talk about the basic command of it. Now, we've already discussed what a command line interface looks like. So I want to open one here, and that is what we are going to be using for this particular class. Okay. And then let's put this one here. All right. So with this particular interface, this is the command line interface, and that is where we are able to communicate or give out our commands for us to get information from wherever that we are. So when you get onto your command line, the first thing that you need is your login as. Your login as is the same as your username. And then you would need a password, depending on how your Linux administrators have built up your server or your interfaces to look like. So with this particular interface, I need my first login as a TVC user, which takes me to my first phase of entering into that particular.
We can't see the interface. Are you showing something?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Share. I think I'm sharing everything. Okay. Share. Please, can you see? Let me know if you see.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So with this particular one, the Linux administrators built it in a way that you have to come to the general platform before you move onto your secured site. So I am supposed to move from here. But before, I want to know where I am stationed at. Where am I standing as at this moment? And the command that you are going to use is the pwd. I hope you can see clearly. So the pwd tells me my exact location where I am currently on as I am typing. So my pwd is giving me my exact location or my present working directorate. So in which directorate, when we say directorate, we are talking about folders. So in which folders am I currently standing? So I am standing in home/tgc user. Now we have the switch or the SU. So the SU helps you to be able to switch from one user to another. Now we have the SU that you can use to switch to root. Now the first thing that has to come in mind is root access gives you access to every single thing. And that being said, you are not supposed to be root because you are working under or you are working for some people and then you are using the root access. That means you have access to go everywhere. And having that kind of control, sometimes if you do not understand the root use, you might go in there and crash certain things. So in as much as we have taken the root access to you, you would have to also understand what the root access is. And the root access is giving you control over every single thing in there. But you have to be careful because if you do not know your way around the roots and then you go in there, do something, you might destroy or clear something out of there. So please and please, even though here we'll be teaching you much more understanding of roots, but try as much as possible that with everything that you are being taught, you should understand, or the first thing that comes in mind is root access gives you all rights or all privileges. All right, so here we already know and I've established that I am at TGC user. Now I want to switch to my user, which is a course. So you have the switch, that is the SU dash, and then the username, that is a course. Now, after this, you know that I've said previously that because of some security measures, some Linux administrators go further to give out a layer of security. And this is the layer of security that I was talking about. So with this, I have a personalized password that I would enter to go into my user interface. So now I am logged in as my user interface. So I want to know where exactly I am, which directorate I am right in now. So I'll use my pwd as I've said, and then we know that I am in /home/ACOS. So right now I am currently in the ACOS directorate, and that is where we are going to be learning from. We also have the sudo command. Now the sudo command also gives you the root privileges or the superior privileges for you to do certain things. So with the sudo command, for instance, when you are doing some installations, you might need to be in root. Now, because you do not have the privileges of being in root, we sometimes give you the sudo privilege. That is, you are able to do certain things in root, but you are limited. So the sudo command is also going to be used, and then it's execute command that is only meant for the root. So in here, we have limited your access to root. You do not have the full privileges to get into root, but you have other things that you need to do in root. You can use the sudo to execute that particular command, and then it can get done for you. So we have the clear or the control plus C. So the clear gives you or pushes this whole thing upwards. So for instance, you have right up on this whole screen, and then you want to clear your screen. You can type in clear for it to do that for you, or you can also use the control L to also do that for you. What it does is it gives you a new sheet or gives you a new space for you to get more information on there. So you can see that previously this was what I had in there, and then when I use the control L or the clear, it gave me a clean sheet for me to also start typing from there. So that is what the clear or the control C does. Now we also have the echo. Now the echo is used to display line of or text or a string. So for instance, we have so many ways that we use the echo, but I want to echo an information. Let's say that, okay. So echo, okay. Okay, so right now, I just wanted to write something or for you to get an information. Echo can be used in so many ways to get information out there. So for right now, I just wanted to write, okay, today is Sunday, and then I echoed it. Everybody can see. Now, we also can use echo to display certain path. When we talk about path, we are talking about an absolute path. You are talking about the path in which, or the directorate that you are in, you want the full path for you to get there. So for instance, let's say echo my Oracle home. Okay, so I do not have an Oracle home installed onto this particular database. That is why it didn't echo anything in here. So for the echo, it gives you or it prints out or display a line of text that you would want to see. So you can use echo to summon certain or to give out certain information that you need. In as much when we are going forward with installations, you would see that we'll be using more of the echoes to get certain information out of there. Now we move to the ls command. Now we have the ls command, sorry, it is small caps. The reason why it didn't show is I had the caps on. They are all small caps when you are using this. So the ls command is used to give out details information about files and directorates in the folder that you are in or in the user that you are in. So when we talk about the ls command, it's short list. It shortlists all the files and directorates that you have created in that particular under that particular user. And then we have the ls or the ll, sorry. Now, what the ll does is it gives you further information. Now, it long lists all the directorates and then all the files in that particular folder that you opened. So you can see that in here between the ls, you can see Majua, Ama, assignment 1, assignment 2, every single thing. Now, what the LL does, it extra gives you information about the owners of those particular file and directories. It gives you the date that it was created. It gives you the time that it was created. And then it gives you the permissions of that particular file or folder that you have there. So we are going to break down all these as we go on, but you need to get that, okay, this is trying to tell me the permissions that I have concerning this particular file. Okay, it tells me the owners of this particular file. It tells me the date this file was created, and then it gives me the time it was also done. Also, when you come to the directories, this is a directories. Now, the difference between a directorate and a file is that directorate always starts with a D. And then you can see that with the files, it do not have a D that starts with. Now, with the directorate, you can see that it tells me the permissions that I have. It also gives me the group owners or the owners of this particular file. It tells me the date it was created, the time, and then the directorate name. So between the LS and then the LL, the LS shortlist, it just gives you the listed version of whatever is in that particular directorate. But the LL further goes on to give you details about that particular file or folder that has been created. Now, further, we also have further commands that we use to list these. And ls-l would also give you the same information. So some Linux administrators will maybe someone will use LL, others will use LS. They all give you the same information in there. So if maybe you have a one-on-one sessions with any of the instructors and the person is maybe using LL, LS-L, or LS-LTR, they all also list these information for you. Now we have the other command of ls-a. Now ls-a lists all hidden files. Now we have some files or directories that are termed or placed in a hidden folder. And when you want to see those hidden files or folders, you use the ls-la. So the ls-la represents all files, including the hidden files or directorates in the listing. So all the files, it will shortlist. The ls stands for shortlist. -a stands for hidden. So it will shortlist all the hidden files, including the files and directories of that particular folder. Now we have another as in the ls-t. Okay, the ls-t also shortlists these directories or files for you. So they are all commands that are used to list content in a directory. So we have all these commands to help you list content in the directories or wherever that you are. You want to list the content in that particular folder. You can use some of these commands to also do that. Now we also have the, sorry.
I think you should mute Kwesi's phone.
Is it Kwesi?
Okay, he's muted.
It's muted. All right. Okay, so ls-d also lists directorates themselves rather than the content. So you get to see the directorates that you have created in sorry about that. Okay, so that it lists those file directorates and not the contents. All right. So we've talked about the ls command in here. So what the ls command does is basically it lists these the contents of the directorates. So whatever that you have in that particular directorate or folder, you can use any of the ls command to list the contents in there. Now we go to the cat command. Now the cat command is used to view, to create, to copy, to merge, and then manipulate file content. So with the cat command, it is used for many other things. Now, for instance, we have content in a file that we want to see. We can use the cat command to look at those contents without necessarily entering that particular file to get the information. So for instance, let's say I want to get information of, or the contents of Mame. We can use the cat command, and then what you can see in there is that in the cat command, in the Mame file, or the file named Mame, the information in there is a missing directory in assignment 1. There is an error in file A in assignment 2. So that is the information in that particular Mame file. Okay, so let's try this, maybe Majua. Okay, so we don't have any information there. That is why nothing should. So let's try another one. Okay, so in this particular one too, we have this information, HDCB, something was typed in there. And then we also have the boy is going to school in there. So you can use the cat to see the contents of a particular file without necessarily entering that particular file to see what is actually there. So that is what the cat function is used to do. So now we can also talk about the all right, so before we move on to the next one, I want us to bring these ones forward so that you don't get confused. All right, so we talk about all these files and then folders. But one thing that we haven't spoken about is how to create these files and folders. Now, we use the command mkdir to create directorates, to create folders. In Linux, we call directorates, or directorates means the same as folders. So when you want to create a folder, you use the mkdir to create them. So let's create a couple of them. So let's create mkdir TGC MAR. Okay. And then let's list. We use LL to list. And then you can see that the directorate TGC MAR was created. So we use the mkdir to create directorates. Now you can create multiple directorates in here. So we have two different ways of creating those multiple directorates. Now you can create multiple directorates as in, okay, you need 4 directorates or 5 directorates at the same time. So let's do an mkdir, and then we are creating class 1, class underscore 1. We want class underscore 2, and then we want class _3. Okay, so we LL to C. Yes, you can see that I have been able to create class _1, class _2, and class _3. Now, that is one aspect of creating these directories. Now, when you want to create them separately, when you are creating the directories separately, you just leave space after each name that you are giving to the directory, and then you type in the new name that you want to use the directory. You want to name the new directory. So, for instance, I also have one particular directory that I want to create a subdirectory in them. So, for instance, maybe I have class 1. I want to create, or I have class 4. I want to create a subdirectory of the students in there. And you can use the mkdir-p, and then you start. So we will start with class 4 slash upper slash slash across. So in here, in the directorate class 4, so we are going to cd into class 4. And then we will list. So in the directorate class 4, I have been able to create a subdirectorate called ABBA in there. And then under the subdirectorate called ABBA, I have been also, so cd, okay. Okay, so in the directorate ABBA, I have been able to also create a subdirectorate under ABBA. And when I list the content, you can see that Kweku is a subdirectorate under ABBA. So with the two examples that I gave under the mkdir, you'll be able to create these directorates depending on how you want in the context of whatever that you are doing. So first, I said that when you want to create these, when you want to create them separately, you can have the mkdir class space class 1 space class _2 space class _3, and then you can have them listed separately. Now, when you want to also create a file, and then in that particular, when you want to create a directory, and then in that particular directory, you want a sub-directory in there, you can also use the -p, and then you give the name, the first name, you bring a slash, and then you give the second name, and then you bring in another slash, and then you create the rest of the directory. So in that particular one, we have sub-directorates in the main directorates. I don't know if you have any confusion in there, but you can ask me anything, and then I would.
I have a quick question.
Okay.
So you know how whenever you wanted to make another subdirectory inside of the other one that you just made and you put the dash, is there a way that you can make a subdirectory like with the dash, and then after that just do space if you want to do many subdirectories in that directory you just created, if that makes sense?
Okay, so if I'm getting your question right, you are trying to ask that, okay, if you want to make a subdirectory after the first one, after the first slash, you leave a space.
Okay. So for example, how you did the
Mhm.
class 4, that was
You can
is
give me the command. You can, right now we are talking about MKDIR. So just let me know how you want it. And so we are creating.
MKDIR.
Mhm.
I was gonna use the example that you already had, but I guess class 5,
Okay, so class 5.
and then I don't know what you had. Then what is this
So
slash?
you want to have something in there. So slash maybe food. So maybe fufu.
Okay, and then
Uh-huh.
instead of making another subdirectory in fufu, can I just make like, can I make both of those directories in class 5?
So I don't know, but are you trying to say that in class 5, you want fufu to be in class 5?
Yeah, fufu and like, let's say banku.
Yes, so if you want to add both of them to be in the same directorate as in class 5, then this is how, okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And can you,
Yeah, Jen, I
okay.
think.
Yes,
Okay.
so sorry about that. I have to be replying messages in and out. I'm sorry about that. All right. So what you are trying to say is when you make the class 5 here, sorry, class _ 5, you want to create fufu / banku. Like this, right? This was what the concept that you have.
Okay, so now that you just did that, fufu is the subdirectory and banku is created inside of fufu.
We do not have any directorate as in fufu / banku because you need the -p, which gives you, it is a command that gives you privileges to be able to create more. As soon as you bring the /, you are trying to create a subdirectorate in another one. But when you give a space, it means you are creating them separately.
Okay.
Right? We are creating them separately. So if we look at the examples that I did here, you can see that when we created this particular one, we left spaces. And then you created this one separately. But when we wanted to create the ones that have the sub directorate, we had to bring this -p, making class 4 the parent, and then the subdirectorate to be class 5, Aba, Kweku, and Akos. Have I been able to clear it or still?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you sure? I don't think that was.
Oh, really? I'm trying to add. Okay, can you go back up a little bit?
Okay. So this was
Okay,
what we
so you
did.
see how, okay, you had the MKDI,
We have this
DIR.
one. We have
Okay,
this one.
okay.
And then we left
So,
spaces, and then after that we list them, and then we got the class 1, class 2, class 3.
okay, so down below where it says
And
MKDR dash P, class 4 / ABBA. So class 4 is the parent directory and ABBA is the
yes,
subdirectory. Okay,
yes.
so the question is, let's
Mhm.
say I didn't want Kweku to be inside of ABBA. Can I, in the same command, can I, instead of putting that dash between ABBA and Kweku, can I put space to make Kweku its own like directory and then put a quote inside of Kweku, if that makes sense?
So, okay, so you are making,
No.
okay, no, that wouldn't happen because with the P, you are being given the privileges to create more. Now, the / only helps you to create more, to be able to create them in that particular parent directorate. So what you are trying to do is you are creating class 4, and then you have ABBA in there. But you also want ABBA to have its own separate directorates, and then you go and create a course in that particular directorate, which cannot be possible. If you are getting it. So you have class 4, under class 4, you have ABBA. Now under that class 4, you have ABBA and Kweku. But you want to give a command that will create a course in Kweku with this same command, right?
Yes.
Yes, that can be possible.
Okay. Thank you.
So you'd have to go in there and then get it. All right. So we've done the MKDIR, and then we want to get to move around. All right. So let's list. So we list with this, and we have created class 1 to class 4. Now let's move to, now when we want to move, now that we've created and then we've listed, when you want to move to any of the directorates, right, you will use CD to move into any of the directorates. So when you want to move into maybe assignment class 4, you CD into class 4, and then you are in there. So you list. So you are able to see the content in class 4. So when you want to move into a location, you can use CD to move into that particular location. All right. So you have, I want to know where I am right now. So we are going to use the PWD. And then I know that I am in home/course and then /class 4. Now this is called an absolute path or the full path. So this gives you the full path to be able to get into that particular class 4 directorate. Now, why am I bringing the full path here? When you know the full path or the absolute path, you are able to stand anywhere you are and then move around in that particular folder. So right now, I am in class 4. I want to move to class 3. I can use the absolute path to move to class 3. So what is the absolute path? We already know that we are in /home/course and then class 4. So how am I going to move? I am going to move. CD is used to move, right? If you want to move to any directorate, you move to that directorate. Now we already know that all these class 1 to class 4 are under the directorate a course. So /home is the first one, then a course. And then I have my class, which is class 3. And then I move. So right now, PWD, I'm in class 3. So you can see here that after this command, I moved to class 3. All right. You can also use the CD ... to move backwards. To move backwards. So in here, I'm in class 3, and I want to maybe move backwards to 1 bit. So I can use CD ... and then I'll use PWD. I'll use PWD. And then you can see that I moved from class 3 to a course. So I've moved back one more space behind. And that is what we would do. So, okay, from what we've learned today, I hope you took a little bit of notes. I need to end this class a little bit early for Justice to join and then continue from there. So please, if Justice, you are ready, you can take over and then. Hello.
Hey, good evening. Okay, so quickly, I'm going to introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. Those of you that know me, great. My name is Justice. I'm one of the instructors for TGC, and I was quite busy the past couple of days trying to get something done. But anyways, nevertheless, I'm here. And I'll be helping our co-hosts off and on with some of the Linux stuff. And then I will also be handling the Oracle side as well. Do you guys have any questions so far from what she taught? I don't want to take that away. Maybe some people have questions so far. And just so you guys know, it's an interactive class. She may give you the pass when she's teaching that she doesn't ask you guys questions or make you guys come off mute. But when I am, I expect everybody, we all interact, right? You don't just watch me teach. It's an interactive class. So we expect everybody to be partaking. We learn from each other, and that's how we grow. So does anybody have any questions so far? That's what she's covered.
For the CD command, the CD ... is there like a slide on the PowerPoint that has a list for the CD commands, or is it just CD and CD ...
We have a couple of them. But I don't know where Justice is. Justice, where would you want to continue?
I'm not continuing where she left off at.
Sure. All right, sure.
So she would teach that. Yeah, she's gonna teach that when she gets to that slide, right? So there are many. So she's gonna teach that. What I wanted to touch base with everyone, and just kind of welcome everybody. I didn't get a chance to do that. Usually I do that in the beginning, but like I said, my schedule has been extremely busy, and I did not have the time to do that. So I'll take this moment before we roll into another week to do that, and then I will introduce something new to you. First things first, welcome to the class. And even though I'm late, I'm here. What I want to talk to you guys about is we are shifting and we are transitioning. And there's a whole lot of work behind the background to make things seamless and, easy for the students, and more of a reality of what you will face out there when you're out there, when you're looking for jobs and things like that. And in the beginning, please, of course, if it's something you've already gone over, you can stop me. And so I don't have to waste my time. This, of course, is an opportunity. I'm sure she mentioned this one, for you to increase in your knowledge base of IT, right? And also for you to have a position or an opportunity to be able to grab some kind of job somewhere. And we will help you along the journey to make that a reality or make that possible. But we only can help the people that help themselves, right? So we have a part to play, you have a part to play, right? So as long as you do your part, we do our part, right? And we all can move as a team. We can help each other. But if we do our part, you don't do your part, then, we can't help you, I often run into people that are they're not quite ready to take on this, and I always say that communication is one of the biggest things, right? It's okay that you've started, and it's okay that you've kind of got into it, but you can just communicate with your instructor, right? Maybe there's other ways or other avenues you haven't thought about, but maybe they can bring it to life for you to be able to see. So, and also, yes, we do have challenges in life in general, right? Some people have kids. I mean, let's be realistic here. Some people may have schools, some people have work, and we know these challenges come in a way, and some people have unplanned events, right? And things will happen. And because we're teaching on the weekends, it's kind of tough, because it's 3 hours on a weekend, but everything here you're doing is a sacrifice in order for you to be able to get to the next step, right? So we know that things will come up, but we still only allow a certain amount of hours that can be missed. And after that, you get dismissed from the class, because the class is so short, so it's 3 months course. We're trying to cram everything in. And at that time, if you miss too many days, we are afraid that you're not going to be able to continue, So we have that. And if you guys don't know about that, I'll have her go over that again on Friday. Okay. So far with the registration process and everything, was it seamless? Was everybody able to register and kind of get started? How was that process? Please, you guys talk to me. I'll tell Yes, interactive.
Yes, it was seamless.
Okay, good. What about Albert?
That's okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay. What about Georgia?
It was all right.
Okay. So far what's been taught, I mean, do you guys understand or are you confused? And it's okay to be confused because in the beginning there's a lot coming at you and it's gonna come pretty fast. Right? But you get to a certain point, the more you stay in it, the more you do it. It's a practice thing, more so, right? The more you do it, it becomes secondhand to you. You don't have to worry about having to go look up a command anymore because you would know it. You know, it's like first learning how to drive, right? I mean, steering, brake, and gas, you're not used to it, but after a while, you know, nobody thinks about it when they get in their car and drive. You know, nobody thinks about where things are anymore. Or that is so many things you have to keep up with, like your gas pedal, your brake pedal, your steering wheel, your turning signals, you know, all these things. Nobody ever think about that anymore because now it's second nature to you. You do it all the time. So you're used to. Same thing here. You do it all the time, you become used to. You don't have to think about it. You just do it, you know? So the part, you know, the ball lay heavy on your court, right? To always, you know, make sure that you are practicing. You know, we let you guys have, of course, for a week. You know, for us, if we can take you guys through the course of the week, it will be much, much more beneficial. But we don't have that luxury because people have work, people have school, people have all kinds of things. So we can't do that. So that's why we keep the class to the weekends, you know. And even that is still tough. So anyways, I'm gonna give back, you know, at least 10 minutes of your class back. And probably gonna end early so that people can get their Monday plans going. If you guys have any questions, the thing I want to mention is there will be a Trello board for all the students. So we'll put the Trello board on there, and everything that we do is going to be on a server. Okay. We used to send email for homework assignments. We don't do that anymore. There's a lot of things that we used to do. We don't do it anymore. Everything because we want you to interact with the command line, and we are setting up your servers as we speak. So by Friday, you know, we should have your servers already set up and we'll be ready to go. And so I don't believe we'll give you assignment for this set. Again, we'll wait till Friday come and before we start giving assignment out. But we will give assignment as far as videos to go and watch so that you can increase in your knowledge base when it comes to that. If we do get the service all set up in the midweek, we will release that information to you. It is your job to make sure you grab the information. So this is why we have the Trello board. The Trello board, everybody will have to be on there. All the students have to be registered on there. Will allow you to be able to see when assignments are posted and stuff like that. It will send you a notification to your phone, so that you would know. If you turn on your notification, if you don't, then you know that is on you. But assignments have due dates and due times. If you're confused about Trello, we can walk you through and show you how to use it. It's very simple and it's basic. I'm sure we all can figure it out. But for some reason, if there's a challenge, we can also help you as well. This is new to some people. That is all that I have. Do anybody have any questions for me? Or I'll close.
I have a question.
Yes.
We were given like an 11-hour video to watch.
Mhm.
That wouldn't have been possible. Although we didn't have class on Saturday, the time frame wasn't feasible because we had two videos. One was 13, 14 minutes. One was like 11 and change hours. Even if we went to sleep and woke up, we wouldn't have been finished with watching that video before the next class.
No, it's fine. I mean, you guys take the time to watch that through the course of the week. Usually we give that for today, and then you guys will have the whole week to complete it, right? But because we didn't have class, we figured we release that for you so they can get a head start.
All right, thanks.
All right. So yes, of course. And let's that brings up a good point, you know, because some of the stuff is gonna feel like, man, it's too much. And some of the parts feel like that, right? Because we want you guys to push through that, right? But there also is a reality part of that, right? Like 11-hour video one day, not gonna be able to do that. That's not realistic, right? So yes, I mean those assignments will tell you to do that, but most generally we just leave the videos, we just leave it up to you to watch it. But you know, the quicker you watch it, the better it is for you, because we'll be going through that lesson plan, right? So, but I mean, all the things in the video, trust me, we have not even touched scratch, you know, some of it. We haven't even touched it yet. So if you haven't watched it, if you watch a few of it, you're okay. But by Friday you should have at least watched that video, you know, so that you can get and take notes, right? It helps you. All these things are learning processes, right? That will put in place that will help you, you know, also move ahead, so that when we're in class, you're not stunned by what's going on the screen. It's like you've been exposed to it a little bit. Oh, the guy was talking about that. I kind of know a little bit about that. It helps you. It helps all of us, right? The more easier you make it on yourself, the easier it is for us as well. So definitely, we do have other students that will be joining in late. They're gonna have a lot to do. Usually we have a cutoff 3 days. You can join after that. But I'm allowing that to happen because we have some hiccups going on. So we're trying to get that all that rectified throughout the course of the week. So they may be joining. They may or may not. I'm not sure exactly where they stand. So I'll be looking into that. But anyways, any other questions for me? Anyone else? I did kind of promise you 10 minutes back. So I will give you 10 minutes back. 8 minutes
Sorry,
back,
one
I
more
guess.
question.
Oh, I guess not. Okay. Go ahead.
When are we going to be able to schedule the one-on-ones, and how do we go about it?
Okay, so the one-on-one, it should be ready by Tuesday. Okay. And then we'll drop a message in your Slack. I'm sorry, I'll drop a message in your Trello, right? And on the WhatsApp, right? So both places will drop a message there, and then you will know that it's a link. You click on it, you can select which instructor, and then you can just have a one-on-one session. Their calendar and the availability is already on there. So you might only see one slot, you might only see 2 slots, right? That's just the availability, right? So if this instructor doesn't work for you because you're not available at that time, go click another person and see, right? See if somebody else is available at the time that you're available. So it's a link. You click on it, and then you can pick the instructor, and then you can look on the calendar and see what days they're available to do the one-on-one. Good question, though.
All right, thanks.
So she brought that up. So I'm gonna steal another 2 minutes from your time. The one-on-one, we encourage everyone to book. Listen, man, this thing is new. Let's not pretend we know this thing, right? I mean, the ones that know it, they know it. The people that don't know it, they don't know it. You don't know it, right? So sometimes you're gonna need a little bit of guide, a little bit of help. You know, people wait till they get to the end. The class have ended. That's when they want to book one-on-one. There's no more one-on-one after that, right? So you have unlimited time to book one-on-one sessions. So yes, the schedules of the instructors are tight, but at least between the 3 instructors, you'll be able to find one person that may help, you know, with your schedule. So book the one-on-one. If you're confused, get clarity. You know, we will not, I repeat, we will not be giving you answers to your homework. We won't do that, right? We'll help you, direct you, point you to some direction, but we can't give you the answers, right, to the homeworks. So then we'll be doing the homework for you. There'll be no point of you learning. So one-on-one, definitely highly encouraged. We don't see a lot of students take advantage of that, you know, and a lot of people getting a bind later on when they have project-based type assignments that come in. Then it's a struggle. It's like, oh, we are all the way deep in Oracle now. They want to go refer back something to Linux. We're not gonna do that, right? Because we've already passed that stage, right? So when we are talking about these things, right, try to book if you're struggling with it, right? And then that way you can get clarity, and then you will know for sure. Any other questions? Anybody else?
Are we being graded on these projects and homeworks?
Yes, your projects are graded. Your homeworks are also graded, and of course, we have a passing scores for your assignments, and you will have quizzes as well. Every periodically, you have quizzes, and sometimes this quiz is on-screen quiz. You know, based on what we've learned. We don't give you something that you have not learned, right? Or but nothing that we have never talked about. You know, but you know, this thing is the question can be phrased in 1,000 different ways, right? So you just have to understand it for yourself really well, so that no matter how the question is tricked at you, you can still kind of decipher it and be able to still answer it, right? And we challenge everyone to do research. Let me tell you, 90% of this is research. Okay, 90% of this, and in the job field is research. So your ability for you to be able to do research is crucial. And we try to grow your ability. So we challenge you to go do research. So we don't give you answers a lot of times. We tell you, oh, go look it up. Go look it up. That looking it up is not we just want to send you away. No, we want for you to be able to develop the ability of learning how to do research. That's why we often tell you that. So if we tell somebody, oh, go look it up, like, man, they ain't even help me. They just told me to go look it up. It's not that we're doing that. We want you to learn that. It's a skill you have to develop. So we push you to do that. Because if you don't, you're not going to survive. Research is everything in this what we're teaching you, what we're doing here. And 90% of the job field is research. Up to now, still research. Even though I should know some information, sometimes you simply forget also, right? Not going to remember everything. So research is very key. And Google is your best friend. But Google can also be your enemy at the same time if you don't know what you're looking for. So that's why you have to learn how to properly research. So these are some great questions.
Wait, I got a question. So wait, are we about to go on break, or we still can ask questions and stuff?
I mean, I thought, we have one more hour?
We
Huh?
do. Yes, we do. So we're supposed
So we're supposed to go on break and then come back and stuff. Okay, so
yeah.
I thought I came in at the last hour. As you see,
No.
my clock is different from everybody else's clock. I was getting ready to dismiss class. Nobody was going to tell me. Anyway, I will leave. I mean, for you guys to go on a 10-minute break, but I will not longer be on. So any questions that need to be directed at me, please, you can ask. The floor is open. As the question after that, we can go on a 10-minute, 20-minute break, then I'll hand back over to our co-host for her to continue. Sorry, I thought it was the last hour. So I was just trying to get a last little minute there.
No,
Didn't know you guys were in the middle of your class.
it's
So
all right. It's all right.
Everybody, listen, I believe in the power of everyone being able to learn, right? Learning is, I mean, everybody can learn to a certain degree, but everybody learns differently, and which we also understand, So this is why we encourage the one-on-one, right? Because you may be on screen, it's going too fast for you, you can't keep up with it. It's fine, right? Make sure you take notes, and then you reference it back to the instructor or book a one-on-one, reference it back so that they can help you, guide you through some of these commands, right? So that's a challenge. Also, if you do not know what that command means, you know what that means, you shouldn't run it, right? Because it may take down a system. Anyone that takes down our system, or anybody that takes down our system, you automatically fail the class. All right. So we just kick you out of the class because we just did, like, you can't bring down the whole entire system, right? You shouldn't, right? So if you don't know what that command is going to do, yeah, you may want to research it, right? Right. This is part of research, right? Just look it up and see what it says, right? Yes, of course. Every now and then we make simple mistakes, like, we miss a period, we miss a dash, we miss, those are fine. But the command itself, like shut down. Okay. I mean, come on. What does shut down mean? If you shut down, you're gonna be shut down. All right. We just have to kick you out. Right. So look up the command. We treat everybody like an adult. Like, you're supposed to do the research before you go do something, right? In our professions, right? We don't just do something without kind of knowing. You want to know before you do it, because it can harm. If you're gonna, taking care of people can harm a person. Taking care of, equipment can harm the equipment, or whatever you do, So definitely get to knowing of the command and be sure of the command before you run it. That is one of the biggest steps and the only thing also, right? So, but if you have your own little box or own little server on your own computer, hey, do whatever you want, man. That's where you try your commands because I mean, you know, you have it on your own server. But if you're on one of our cloud servers, yeah, look it up, right? Don't play games with that. Any other questions?
That question that Jenna asked earlier about creating wherever, okay, just say you're where is the close at? Wherever directory she's at. Jenna was asking, could you create another directory and then subdirectories in that directory? And
Yeah, but you okay, go ahead.
and yeah, you can.
So what she wants to do is she wants to create a directory. We didn't understand the question. I didn't quite understand what was going on. So you want to make a directory. So make a directory, mkdir, right? -p.
Yeah, dash P.
Okay. And then do one. We're gonna call it directory one.
We'll do the food. Okay.
Or whatever name. Just
The
give a
food.
name.
We were doing food, so food is
Food.
easier. So
Okay, so food.
the folder will be called food,
Fufu.
and inside the folder it'll be the types of
So
food.
slash fufu. Right?
Nah,
Slash. Now you want to create okay, now you want to create banku and everything inside food, right? So
yeah.
space, banku.
No. It'll be. I think it'll be the What is that? Not the parentheses, not the quotation, the parentheses, but the other one. Or else you're
Curly
gonna.
bracket.
Yeah.
Curly
Or else.
bracket.
Yeah. Or else it's gonna be created all in like separate directories, like in.
Okay, so bring a curly bracket.
Right after the. No, before the
Okay.
fufu.
Before the fufu.
Yeah, right there. Oh,
Okay.
no, yeah. Put the slash. No,
Slash.
put the slash. Put the
Put a
slash.
slash. Yeah, you can do that, but so what we're trying to do is, you know, there's a level of complexity that bring confusion also. So in order for us to also avoid certain commands, there's so many other more things you can do, but we don't teach that. You know, go ahead, bring the curly bracket and bring bankun or whatever fufu. Okay,
Yeah,
then
what's that? What's that? Comma.
comma, no
No,
comma,
yeah, erase that comma, and then you can list however many you
bankun.
need,
Yeah,
and then just
yeah, and
close the
then
bracket.
whatever.
Yeah, close the bracket whenever you're done.
Okay, now close the bracket. Enter. So it can be done, but these are commands that we don't teach, right? And the reason why we don't teach that is a lot of times, you know, we try to avoid confusion in the beginning. Like we try to remove some of the complexities, and later on we'll get into the complexity of diverse commands. And after you already understand how to make one or two folders, you know, into subfolders, right? But if we now start bringing curly brackets and stuff like that, and parentheses, it's gonna bring a whole lot of confusion. So Jenna, to answer your question, yes, it can be done. I guess we didn't understand the this thing. And of course, if we're not understanding what you're saying, please reiterate. Don't just think like, well, I guess so. You know, just reiterate, you know, so that we can better understand the question.
Wait, Jenna, is that really your question? Because I thought you wanted to do Benku in food and then create another
Yes, I want.
directory with a subdirectory within the same line. That's her
Yes.
question.
Yes, so I was asking like how she did foods, that's fine. But I was asking if you could do like drinks in the same line, like a directory drinks and then have Sprites, Coke, whatever. Like those.
Yeah, so
inside.
you can do that, right? Okay, so basically what you're saying is you create foods, right? Then
Yeah.
you create drinks, right? Then you create desserts, right?
Yes, in the same line though. Or do you have to
Yes,
do
you can. You can. No, you can. This
same?
is that you don't have to bring the P, right? Because you're not creating sub. So if you were standing, let me make sure I understand this correct. You're making the foods folder and then you are creating those folders, right? or the foods folder is already there and you're creating those folders? Which one is it?
I mean, both, I guess. Like you're creating the foods folder and you're putting fufu, banku, and rice in it, and then you're creating a drinks folder and you're putting Sprite, Coke, and Fanta in it.
Yeah, it can be done, but it's more complex, right? I mean, it can be done, but definitely it's more complex, right? You have to bring parentheses, commas, all kinds of things, right? Because what you're doing is you have to create the initial folder, right? So you create foods like how he's done it right there, right? And then you can you can put drinks instead of fufu banku and stuff. You can put drinks and everything in there. So same commands that we just worked through with Junior, where it's the same thing you're trying to create. And
Okay.
then you want to go inside of, let's say, drinks, and then create another a raw drink in there, right? Okay, so for example, do mkdir. No, do mkdir dash p. Sorry, mkdir dash p. Can you make the screen bigger again? I'm getting distracted with that thing behind there.
Alright.
Okay, space. Food. I get food too. Just do food too. Let's just say.
Okay.
Slash. Okay. Then you bring your curly bracket. Right? Then you do like, okay, drinks, right? Let's go by what Jenna's saying. Like you want to bring drinks, right? Comma. Are you saying that inside
No.
the drinks now you want something inside the drinks?
No. So it's like, okay, so you created the
I'm not
food and then under the
No.
food too. I think I got the question. So under the
No,
food,
I get what Jenna's asking. Jenna's asking, can you
okay.
create 2 directories in one time? But on your second directory, can you make subdirectories for it? So on your creating 2 directories, one will be food 2 and drinks. But then in the drinks, can you make subdirectories for Sprite?
Yeah, you can. You can. You should be able to,
That's
right?
what she's asking. Right, Jenna?
Okay. So delete the slash. Delete the slash. Delete the slash and hit a space.
Right.
And then write drinks. Right?
And then do the slash.
Then now do the slash. And then
Curly
do
bracket.
curly bracket. And then bring Coke. Comma, Sprite.
Fanta.
Okay, but after you're done, don't click enter yet. Okay.
Okay. Hey,
So
hey.
Wait,
so
wait.
that food 02, you could delete that or you could keep it, whatever. Can you do another one? Like, don't click enter, but can you do another directory like desserts, and inside desserts make cake, cupcakes, and cookies?
So after right now, okay, you want to make
Yes.
another distance. So
Yes.
his space.
Give it to me.
But
Yeah, I don't know about that one, Jenna.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's gonna work,
Nah,
right?
yeah,
It's
that
gonna
one,
give
that
you an
one's not
error.
gonna work. Nah,
I'm
that
gonna tell
one's
you
not
what,
gonna work.
you're becoming more complex, and what is gonna tell you that it's like you can just do that in this 2 separate commands. So why are you adding complexity to this, right?
Okay,
So
because that's my question. Could you make like multiple of those things, or you have to do it separate?
so go to inside food 2.
All right. Oh, go back to the drinks. The drinks will have the.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's drinks. It was drinks.
Oh
It's
no,
drinks,
but you
sorry.
know what, Justice? You probably could have did, because look, the cookies is right there too, and you wrote it at the end of it, so you probably could
Yeah,
have
so you
did
could have
another
just did the
slash.
dash.
Yeah, it could have. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
another
saying.
slash and trigger
It's
line.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You-
I
Only
was
thing
thinking you get an
is,
error.
the only thing is you have to bring the parentheses and then create, which
Yes. So no, I think what she's saying
After the
is
cookies, you should have brought the dash, open bracket, and then cake, comma.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can you do that? Like, that's what I'm
not,
asking. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
let's just fix at
Can
the
you just
front.
go back and just erase all of the stuff so that it's
Yeah,
easier for
erase
you?
all of
Before,
it. Erase the
erase
whole
all of it
file.
because so they can use the same things, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying, Jenny.
So go
Yep.
back.
You should be able to do it. Whoa. What's the folder before the director before this one? I was delete that one.
Okay, so I've removed it. All right. CD. So dot. Okay. Okay, so we're going to use the same one. All right, so slash and then comes in here with okay. I just put in
Fake.
you want more. It's okay. So we get this done. All right, so
So just do LL cookies. So long list cookies, right? So we got them both in there, right?
Okay, yes, thank you.
And then LL drinks, right? And that's that we
Nope.
should have cooked right in front in there. Right? So yes, it can be done. All right. I will leave you guys and let her continue with her lesson plan. I'm sure you guys need to take a 5-minute break before that.
yeah.
Um,
So we
I've distracted you guys enough.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so we will take the break and then we'll come back. Okay. I hope you are back. Let's just continue with commands, because basically you would have your service by Friday. So you would have to know how to move around and then get your assignments from there. Okay, so Control L takes me up. Right. So we were at the C, D. And then we use the CD dot dot to move back one page, so PWD. Right, all right. So the CD is used so many times and then differently. We've already used the CD to move into, so let's list our contents and let's move into foods. Okay, so CD into food. And then we list, we have the content in there. We want to know our present working location is PWD. And then we know that we have the absolute path of /home /account /food. Now, if I want to move to a folder, a directorate backwards, one step, I can use the CD dot dot to move. And then, wait, okay, so we have, sorry, we found, all right, so let's go back in here. So CD / we have our home. So let's use our absolute path to go in there. All right, so we are in there right now. So, okay, let me see, CD into cookies. Okay, let's cookies, right. So I'm in cookies right now, and I would want to go back to foods or go back and then go into a different directorate under foods. I can use the CD dot dots to go back. So now PWD, I'm in foods. So I was in cookies and I wanted to come back into foods and then maybe move into drinks. Okay, I list. So now I'm inside drinks. I have the content of drinks and I want to move back to foods. CD dot dot. And then you move back to foods. So that is how you are able to use, you are able to move one space backwards. But in case you are in foods and then maybe you want to move backwards, like a double backwards, let me use that word. So let's see, CD into drinks. Okay, we have cook, and then I'll CD into cook. Right, okay, so right now we are inside cook. And we have nothing inside cook. And I want to move back to foods. You can use the CD dot dot space dot dot to also move. So now you moved from cook to drinks, and then you can also use, depending on how far you want to go, you can also use that. So with this, I had to go back 3 times. So I can do dot dots, then another dot dot space, that's another dot dot, and then another dot dot, and it will take me to food. But because we teach you the absolute part, and we mostly use the absolute part, the CD dot dots multiple times is not normally used much, if you get what I'm saying. So you can use the CD dot dots in case you are at a particular directorate and you just want to move back once. But if you are in a directorate, for instance, you are in cook directorate and you want to move to foods, you have to move from cook, go back to drinks, before you get to food, right? Because you already have the absolute path, you do not have to go through the space of doing the CD dot dots to take you there. You can just do PWD, know the absolute path that you want to go into. So, for example, let me just use this. So CD drinks, Coke, I'm there. All right. So you can just use your absolute path. You already know that. Okay, now this is your absolute path. Your present working directory is this. That is your absolute path. And you want to move to food. You just use the CD, then you just copy this, and then you right click it to paste. Then you press enter and it will take you there. So you can use the CD dot dots, the multiple dot dots to go back, but you can also use the absolute path to also go back. The reason why we press on the absolute path is it helps you remember when you get to a certain place and then you have to be moving around certain directorates. So for instance, if you were in a different directorate, like CD, and then, okay, so let's say CD into class 4, right? And you are in PWD. You are right now in class 4, and you want to move into foods. And under foods, you want to go into drinks, just drinks. If you use the CD dot dot, it will not help you. But if you use the CD and then your absolute path, you can stand in class 4 and then move straight to the new directory you want to enter. So for instance, I'm here and I want to enter into CD foods. I want to go into foods, and then under food, I want to go under drinks. So I will just copy this. What you do is here on the interface, we do not use copy and paste, but your left and right clicks tells you what you are supposed to do. So in here, you highlight this particular path and then you right click. So as soon as you right click, it pastes it over here. So your left is your copy. When you highlight, you have copied it. When you right click, you've pasted it. So you have to be careful when you are copying and then pasting on the command interface, because you do not use the copy and then the paste as in your Windows. Here you use your clicks, your left and right to copy and paste. So as soon as you highlight anything, you have copied the full thing. And then when you right click, it's pastes. So you should be careful when you are doing something and then you highlight something, you forget about it, and then you right click, it might run, depending on whatever that you are doing at the moment. So as at now, I want to know, or I want to move from class 4 to foods. Under foods, I want to enter into drinks. And that is the part that I use. So right now, I just moved from here and I'm in drinks. So PWD. And now this is the absolute part that I am in now, the working directory that I just entered. All right. So we also have the CD slash. The CD slash takes you to your roots. So CD slash takes you to your roots. So let's do CD slash and then let's do PWD. So slash on Linux also means roots. Slash on Linux also means roots. So right now you are inside your roots. Okay, and then we have CD. Right? CD also takes you to your home. So PWD. So your home slash your user, that is under you are under home, the user is Akosia. So CD slash takes you to roots. And beginning, I said that we do not give you root privileges because of how the whole system is. You are now going around the whole Linux interface. As we move ahead and we feel confident of you being in the root, we will take you there. But now, the roots, you can go to root by using the CD/. So let's say CD/, I didn't list the content in there. So let's list the content in there. So under CD/, we have these directories under there. So we have the U01, we have the temp, we have the sys, we have the SRV, SBIN, run, root, RMAN backup, prog, opt, all these are directorates under root. And when we go to the Oracle administration, we will give you an explanation of all these. But when you want to go to roots, you can do the CD/ here. But you might not have permission to run certain commands over here. So you can see that here, apart from the FRA that I have, Oracle DBA, all the rest has the roots as users, and then owners of these particular directories, right? So you might have the privilege to go in there and see certain things inside that place, but you might not have the privilege to run commands under roots, except you are given the root privileges. Now we talk about the CD. So you can CD into your user, which is pwd, takes you to your /home. And then under the /home, you, the user, is there, host. So under CD, we've talked about CD as in just type the CD and then it will take you to your user home. We've talked about the CD into directorates, which you will just add the folder name to the CD and then it will take you there. We also have the CD/ that takes you to roots. And then we have the CD ... that takes you back one step behind, one step backwards. So under the CD, I think as we are going on, in case anything comes up, we will do that. All right, so we have now learned on how to create directories. So let's up it up by creating files. So we are going to create files under these directories. So let's CD into class. So we CD into class 1. All right. So under the file, when you want to create files, you use the touch. Now touch is TOUCH. And then you add the file names to that particular, to the touch command. So let's say that, okay, I want to do file 01, file 02, and then file 03. All right, so let's do it. And then we list it in there. So now you can see that we have created all our files under the class 1 directories. So now we are just creating files. We are finished creating directories. And then when we are creating directories, we use the mkdir. Now, when you are creating files, you use the touch to create. So CD ... let's go into CD class 2. Okay, so let's create something touch. So we do touch class strings. Okay. Books. Okay. All right, so under the directorate class 2, we've created these files, that's book, cars, and train, under all these. So with the file, you use the touch to create files. Now, do anybody have any question for me so far? With the touch. Okay. Okay. So how to get content, right, into this files or folders. So in here, we learned the echo, right? So now you would want to see that do we have any content in these files that I've created? So we can use echo or the cats. Let's use the cats to see if we have content in there. So let's say books. Do we have content in there? There is nothing in there. So we didn't show anything. We do not have any content in there, right? So basically, the difference that you would see when it comes to creating directorates and then the file is when you open any directorate and then you have files and folders in there, what are some of the things that you'd be able to use to differentiate that, okay, this thing is a file, this thing is a directorate, this thing is a one. So let's go here. I want you guys to help me out with that. So let's go into CD, LL. All right. So can somebody help me at least differentiate between the directories that we've created and then the files that we've created? What are some of the things that you'll be able to identify as soon as you open a file or, a directorate that you have created or a folder that you have already created? What are some of the things that you'll be able to identify and then show you that this is a file, this is a directorate? Can somebody help me with that? Anybody?
It looks like directories are in blue.
Yes.
And files, I think they have the little TX at the end, no?
Okay, so the blue is 1, it is correct. But I said 1 before that. Okay, when you want to differentiate, the thing that will make it very easy for you is the permissions. These are called permissions. So as soon as you open up any directorates and then you want to look or identify, should in case because the colors are subjected to change. I can change these colors to green, to yellow, to something. I can also change these white ones to anything. But what will make it easy for you to identify them is this D, that in front of, in directorates, when you create a directorate, D starts from the permission, which shows it is a directorate. But if you look at this file that I created here, AMA, it doesn't start with a D, it starts with a dash. And that shows that this is a file. So for you to easy access when you enter into any directorate, this permission, this D differentiate for the directorate, and then this dash stands for the file. So in case these colors changes, it helps. Okay, so right now, one last thing that I want to teach before we leave the class is the RM command. That is the remove command. So you have created so many things that maybe you made a mistake. You made a typing mistake when you were creating them, and then you want to delete it. How do you delete them? So that is what we are going to do. So we are going to do the RM command. Okay. So with the RM, let's see into foods. Okay, and then, all right. So in here, I would want to delete Bankum from this particular directory. You can use the RM dash RF. Now RM is removed. The RF falsely removes it, like removes it without asking for any kind of permissions before it is done, because there are certain folders that when you are trying to delete, or certain contents that you are trying to delete, that after you put in the remove command, it might ask you for, or ask you further questions, whether you have to answer yes or a no. Now, when you attach the RF to it, it falsely removes that particular folder without asking any questions. Should in case that particular file or directory has some sensitivity around it. So for the RM-RF, you just do that, and then you attach the directorate name or the file name to it. So we have Bankum here. And then you list, you see that Banku has been taken off the list. So we did class, okay, so CD the dots, and then I'll CD into class 1. All right. Okay, so I want to remove all this from class 1. You can do RM-RF, then star. So you do the shifts +8 or star, and then you get this. This star means it is removing all the content in that particular directory. You want everything in that particular directory removed. So you press enter, and then let's check. So it has taken every single thing out of that class 1 directory. So I said that with the remove, you can remove by using the RM-RF, and then you use the file name or the directorate name to do the remove. You can also use star to remove if you want to clear the whole contents from there. So let's do another example here. And then we end. So, all right. Okay, so I want to remove books and car from this particular directory. So I can do the RM-RF, then I'll do book, then space, then you do cars, and then you press enter. Now let's check the contents. So we can see that books and cars have been removed. You just have train in there. So with this, do you have any questions, or you want us to, you have anything in mind that you want to ask? You can ask.
Is there a way to undo?
Yes, we normally, but when you forcefully remove, it becomes hard for you to undo. Yes, you can get those information back. All those informations that you've deleted, you can get them back. But when you forcefully remove, it becomes a little bit, you need to do an extra for you to get those information back. But as we move forward, you will be given that particular information for you to retrieve certain things. So what we are taught here is, before you delete anything, do a backup of it. Create a backup of it. On here, that is what we are taught, that before you, wherever that you go to, and then you think that, oh, at this particular thing, I don't know what is the use of it being here. You do not know, but you do not know the other users of that particular platform. So what you need to do is, before you delete it, you do a copy of it. And the CP command will be taught as we are moving on. So you can retrieve the information that you deleted but it will take you a longer because you've forcefully removed it. And what we are saying is before you even go, you take the step of removing anything, you have to do a backup of whatever that you are removing first before you delete them. So you have that one too in mind. Any more questions? We teach you the RM command for you to be, because sometimes you might be creating these directorates and then files, and you might be doing spelling mistakes and other stuff. So we will teach you that. But for work purpose, before you delete anything, you do a backup. If whatever information in there was put in there by you or by another person, before you delete them, you just have to take a backup of it and then you can move on. All right.
Are you gonna learn how to do the backup?
Yes, you are going to learn how to do backups, a bunch of them as we are moving on. Right. So any more questions for the commands?
By backup, do you mean like a copy or is that different?
Yes, a copy. Okay. That is what we say backup. So a copy of it. Yes. So any more questions with the commands that we've done so far? Okay, so I want to also let us move a little bit to, we've done the remove. Okay, so let's do the copy, how to do a backup of those directorates and then those files. So now we are in PWD, tells us where we are. All right, so I would want to delete, okay, let me create. MPDI. Okay, so now this is the contents in class 2. And I have been asked to delete school. How do I take a backup of it? Now we have a command, that is the CP command. Now CP command is used to make a copy, or CP stands for copy. So when you want to make a copy of it, you can use the CP command to do it. So for instance, you are being asked to make a copy of the uniform. So what you do is you do the CP and then you copy school, you leave it, and then you add .bkp to it. Right. Now we have, okay, so let's just try this one and then let's see what comes out of it. Okay, so in here, we have the school as in the actual school file, and then we also have the school.backup, which is the backup that I have taken should in case there is a need for me to reinstall whatever the content in here has to. All right, so then what can I do? I can move now, I can remove the school from this directory, and then now I only have the backup in there. So we have the CP to move in all the files and then folders in there. So what about directories? Now we also have the MV. Now MVs are are used to move directorates from one place to another. So it is MV means move, CP means copy. So you are able to move directorates from one place to another. So I am in class 2. I want to move uniform to maybe a different location. And I already have the absolute part of that particular location. I can do that. The move itself can also be used to rename a directorate. So I am, for instance, I am in class 2. I want to rename uniform to maybe dresses. I can use the MV to also do a rename. So let's try an example. And that will be our last couple of commands. So we are talking about the first one, which is move a directorate from one place to another. Now I am here, I want to move uniform to, let me see where I have PWD. Okay, this is class 2. Okay, so let's start with the absolute part. So I want to move the uniform to foods and the directorate foods. So we will start with the absolute part. That is why I said that when you know your absolute part, you can move from wherever that you are to anywhere. So I know my absolute part, which is /home, /accounts, /food, right? So I am moving uniform to this place. So I have it there. So let's check if we still have uniform here. You can see that under the class 2, the uniform is not found here. So let us move to this particular place and see if it is there. Yes, you can see that now the uniform has been moved to foods. Under foods, we have uniform. So the move command can be used to move certain directorates or certain files from one particular position to the other. Now, the second aspect of the move was to change the name. So for instance, I'm in food. I want to change the uniform to dress. So I can use the MV. Then we have the uniform. Sorry. We have the uniform here. And then you bring a space and the new name, that is dress, is also placed there. So MV space, the uniform, and then the new name, and then you press enter. So let's check it out. So you can see that we do not have uniform here anymore, but we have dress in the food directorates now. So we have been able to change this particular directorate's name to this. Any more questions? Any questions? So we've done the CP.
So sorry, for clarification, the move
Yes.
command can be used to move a file or a directory, but
A
it can
file
also
or
be used to
directory.
change it.
So the move, wait, let's do a directory because I just, sorry, let's do a file. So cd dot. So cd into class. Class 1. Okay, I don't know how. Okay, let me just make something there. Touch. Okay, so we have content in here. So let's move. So first we tried the copied.
The doors.
with this. So let's copy Accra to slash home slash oppose and then slash foods. So we've copied the content on there. You can see that we've copied the content. We just took a copy of it. Now let's move this. So let's move to this. Okay, so CD into foods, this absolute part, and then LL. So you can see that first we copied Accra. So we have Accra still in the class 1 folder, but we also have a copy of it in foods. But we moved Kweku to this particular directory. So the move command is not just used for directories, it is used for both files and directories when you want to copy something, when you want to move something. Right. So
Okay.
Your question.
No, that's it.
That's it. Okay. But the difference between the CP, that is the copy command, and then the move command is the move takes the whole thing away, but a copy, it takes just a copy of it. But the move command is also used to do rename. So, okay, you have this content. Maybe I have this fufu content that I want to turn, or I want to change this cookies content to maybe sweet. So I can use this move command with the old name, that is the cookies. And then I want to change it to sweets with the new name, and I press enter. And then now we have sweets, but we do not have cookies anymore. So questions, we just have a minute before we close class. If you have any questions, you can ask. Okay. No questions. So far, this is the command that we'll be doing for today's class. But next week, we will continue, or we will build on whatever that we've done today so that we can move ahead. All right. Any questions? Okay. All right. So we will end class here, and then we shall meet next week, same time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Thank
Good night.
you. Bye.
Dang, Justice, you still on?
No, Justice is gone.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So you'd have to maybe call him if you need him.
Yeah, okay, I will.
All right.
Okay.